Hey guys, it's Alex. I'm here with my co-host Nabeshin. He's got a lot of creative thinking thoughts going on in his head, so he's going to give me something, and then we're going to talk about it. As you guys know, I like to talk. So follow each of us on Twitter. I'm AlFighter27, Nabeshin186. You like that, don't you?
I just wanted to fade in.
Just fade in. Shh. All right, I'll try. You know what? We'll try. What you got for me today, Nabeshin?
I just feel like talking about like indies versus AAA games.
All right. Indies versus AAA games. I think this is good. You are more in the indie band camp, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, like we discussed on the podcast when we're like going into the next generation. It's like indie games are the most exciting thing, right?
Oh, most definitely.
And like they're doing the crazy shit. They're the ones that are actually, you know, like throwing something innovative and new out there. No offense to, you know, AAA games, but like we got Assassin's Creed 4 coming. You know, we had a Gears of War 4. We had God of War 4, or fourth God of War and fourth Gears of War, I should say. You know, we are seeing these franchises kind of develop, and these big publishers kind of starting to lean on them. Call of Duty, nothing more needs to be said. So yeah, I mean, so what's your feel, indie versus AAA? Where are you? In the whole scheme of it.
Well, it's like I totally understand AAA games. As far as like it's something that they need to actually like, guarantee a sale, and I guess you could kind of say that's why they're AAA, because they're almost guaranteed to sell. Like if you have a case like Tomb Raider, where is that
I was gonna bring up Tomb Raider.
Yeah, that is a true AAA game to like the highest degree, because that's like one of the most polished games I've ever played.
Yeah, it's really polished.
Yeah, but like you put so much money to make that a AAA game, but that doesn't do crap for Square Enix.
It sells 3.4 million, and because, you know, this huge marketing push and all the money that they lost on marketing that game, that wasn't enough. I mean, probably by now, I would say, you know, with Steam sales and everything, it's probably become profitable, but it was so, like, immediate that it wasn't.
Yeah.
That you know, hope for that franchise has dwindled quite a bit.
Even like Sleeping Dogs and Hitman. Sleeping Dogs is a new IP that did pretty okay for what it was. That didn't do well for them. And this is all Square Enix, by the way.
Yeah, and, ironically enough.
Yeah. Hitman Absolution, which surprisingly did actually really good, I heard. But that didn't do what they wanted either. So pretty much all their Western games, that they were, I guess you could say they were Eidos Montreal was just trying to make it, like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield, make it something to that scale. But like, it didn't pan out for her. Kind of like how EA did it with Mirror's Edge and Dead Space at the beginning. Like those two didn't really pan out for them at first. That's why they kind of dropped Mirror's Edge and
Dead Space was on the line for a while there.
Yeah, and they made that more, I guess you could say, AAA-esque with
Dead Space 2.
You know, Dead Space 2 with more set pieces and like kind of playing more safe, but like still a really great game.
Yeah,
it still did a lot of cool new stuff, but like. It wasn't like what everybody wanted. Oh, I thought this was survival horror. Why did they take that away? And now Dead Space 3, and it's like, ugh.
And it's like, you know, Dead Space 3, not openly a bad game, but it's kind of lost sight of what the franchise was and why it was creative and original in the first place.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's upsetting specifically with Square Enix, because Eidos and Crystal Dynamics, they're the people that are doing the more interesting from a critical standpoint.
Yeah.
They're the more interesting material. Like, Tomb Raider was fantastic.
Yes.
It was incredibly well built, and considering like where we are in a console generation, like I said in my Last of Us review, considering how well that game ran and looked, it was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it looked great on Xbox, it looked great on PS3, it ran well on both, and it looked even better on PC. And it's like that and Deus Ex. I mean, Deus Ex was the success. Like that was kind of like the surprise, and no one expected that game to do as well as it did. And then you have what was the other one? Totally blanked. Hitman and Sleeping Dogs. Yes, I got there. We got there. Yeah, and it's like Hitman did okay for. I mean, it was a Hitman game. Like Hitman's never been that huge franchise. Like it kind of was close to that at some point in like the Wild West when it was PS2 era.
Yeah.
But like back then it was so different, and games weren't as expensive, and now, you know, it seems like Square Enix is setting too much of a standard for their AAA games.
Yeah.
And like that's Square Enix specifically. But like, that's kind of the drawback of AAA games, is like, there's such a precedent because you put so much time and money into this game.
Mm-hmm. That's why you kind of have to play safe, because you're putting so much into it. You have to make it back, like, even like to a detriment. Just look at Mass Effect 3, like, a fantastic game, one of my favorite games ever, but you can see how different it is from Mass Effect 1, the original, to Mass Effect 3, where it's kind of more streamlined, more open to other players who like get into the series for the first time, which you should. And you should play Mass Effect 1 first, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. That's a whole nother story. But like, if you're looking at Eidos and the eastern or western side of Square Enix, like, they're doing right still with this not getting up to budget compared to, the western or eastern Square Enix, where they put out Final Fantasy XIV, which completely fucked from the launch. Yeah. They had to fire everyone, lay off everyone, hire an entire new studio and rebuild the game from the ground up.
Yeah, pretty much just relaunch it. Like, that first thing never happened. Never happened.
Millions of dollars went into that game. It was in development for years, like since Final Fantasy XI came out, and it just completely ruined it. It was a train wreck. And then, 13 does well for them. Final Fantasy 13 series does fine. And then, this Versus 13 debacle, which they've been pouring, it's been just money, just throwing money at Versus 13 for 7 years now. And it's just gone nowhere until recently. And like, the past 3 years, they finally got their shit together. Yeah. And they're like, guess what? We should probably put this game out at this point. And like, if you're looking at, Square Enix over on the Western front, Tomb Raider selling 3.4 million copies, and Deus Ex being huge, and Hitman still doing pretty well for being a Hitman game years after Blood Money, is not nearly as bad compared to the other side of this AAA nightmare.
Yeah.
And on the other side of like AAA games, we have Call of Duty, which, for better or worse, it is very much the same thing every year, but those developers still put a good amount of time and effort.
Yeah, and it's a shame that we're kind of like this. We're so like, oh, it's the same game every year, but like, they put their heart and soul so to make it, they're trying to make it so satisfy you so they don't change it so much, but they're trying to do new things at the same time.
Yeah.
That's why, didn't they do something somewhat new on Black Ops 2?
Oh, Black Ops 2 was crazy! Like
they did something like was like Tower Defense or something like that?
Well, there's the Tower Defense thing, which was...
No white light, that's what I heard.
It was okay. It was clearly clunky, and it was kind of something that felt like it came in toward the end of development. But like, that game, it had multiple endings and like choice paths. It was something that it was even the way they implemented it in like little ways, like very black and white choices, but it's a big deal for Call of Duty. Yeah. And they actually had some cool subtle stuff in there that if you fucked up a little bit, you would get a completely different ending. Mm-hmm. And that was like, Black Ops 2 is the best Call of Duty campaign since 4. And it's, that's an incredibly well-made game, and I still really, really like it. And the multiplayer is fantastic, and the zombies great. But it's fatigue.
Yeah.
It's literally, with Call of Duty, it's not the quality anymore, it's just the quantity.
Yeah.
It is too much of a good thing.
Right.
And, then there's the whole worry, and then you look, that's Activision, and then you change direction to EA. Yeah. No one knows what the fuck EA's doing.
It's Madden.
It's Madden, and now they're doing Battlefield 4, and then they're like, we're doing Battlefront and Mirror's Edge 2.
Yeah.
And
then in their whole like mentality, like, we have to put a first-person shooter out every year, so here's Medal of Honor. I guess you could take that.
And like they had openly said like every game has to have multiplayer in it.
Yeah.
And like it was like EA was in a weird thing, and then with Old Republic, that kind of like that kind of burned, and when it first started, and now it's kind of built up some good pace. Joe still plays that game. Aces High 291 on Twitter, former host of the podcast. And yeah, I mean that game has picked up some steam. And then you look at Ubisoft, and whatever the fuck they're doing it right. Like whatever they're doing.
Ubisoft was like, I guess I can say that's the best AAA developer right now, because they actually are trying something new while still kind of playing it safe.
Yeah.
But they're putting so much more innovation.
Yeah.
They're in fact, I dare even say Ubisoft is the only one that's making next gen look next gen more than like any other developer. Even Microsoft and Sony, like they're doing new stuff compared to what everyone else is.
At least right out of the gate. I mean, Sony's got Infamous, and Microsoft has Quantum Break, and both of those games, they're kind of down the line games, or 2014. And those look incredible.
Yeah.
But, Ubisoft right out the gate, they're like, we got Watch Dogs, which is the most anticipated game of like in general of 2013, other than GTA 5.
Right.
And it's the most anticipated next gen title. It's a launch next gen title, and it looks polished, looks good, and everyone that's played it has been like, yeah, that game's probably gonna be all right.
Yeah.
So it's like Ubisoft has got that, and then they got The Division. They're popping out surprises every E3 at this point.
But yeah.
And they're using that. They're not like wasting that money. They're using that to, you know, kind of back fund projects like Rayman Legends, which is like, that looks incredible.
Right.
And, you know, they're also doing whatever fucking the Rayman TV game is.
Oh, those Rayman Rabbits. Oh my God.
Like the Rayman Rabbids TV thing for Xbox One, and I still no fucking idea. And yeah, it's like Ubisoft is, they're doing something right, because so many people are hyped about Watch Dogs, and that game is going to sell really well. And it's like, it's an interesting thing that they can, a new IP can just be so anticipated right out the gate.
Right. But to get to the indie sense,
yeah,
I thought that at all.
AAA done. Indie's just crazy.
Yeah.
Indie is the Wild West of the PS2 era. Like, kind of.
Yeah, it really is, cause like what games, there's games on the PS2, like Mr. Mosquito and stuff like that. Just like,
Mr. Mosquito, man.
Those really dumb games you just look at and it's like, oh wow, that's really random and quirky and Japanese, and so I have to get it just because of that. And indies are just doing that, and it's the weirdest thing, cause it's like, these are Japanese games. These are Western, more or less Western games, and now they're getting like all the crazy and insane and like just getting the gameplay down to like what used to be in the older years of those type of video games. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I mean, like Sony's obviously they're right now the big proponent of indie, which is at the time of this recording is leading Microsoft into that direction as well.
Yeah,
which is great because now next gen indie games are going to be fucking insane.
Exactly,
and it's going to be awesome. But like you have developers that just know their shit out of the gate. Team Meat, their first game, Super Meat Boy, incredibly well made game, sells very very well. First game out of this developer. And they've done Flash stuff before, and them separately have done stuff, but, you know, this is like the first major title, $15 downloadable game sells incredibly well.
Right.
You know, and it gets this whole Game Feast thing surrounding it, back in 2010. Fez, Polytron's first game.
Yeah.
So much hype around this game, and it made the internet go crazy for like an entire weekend. And it was, you know, that's like an crazy, like, community reaction to something.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, Supergiant Games, they created one of the best games on Xbox, in my opinion. Or at the time, Xbox 360 with Bastion. Again, first game out of the gate. And it's like gameplay down, story down, and just nuance. Mm-hmm. Like nuance is where indie is. Like the little stuff. It's, you know, that's where it's all coming through.
And it's the thing too. It's like we could say like how GTA puts like so much detail into like a 3D open world type of game, but like when like an indie game does like those little minute things in their little 2D type of like platformer or whatever like that, I don't know, I appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
It just seems like
it's because, you know, that game was made by 3 people. GTA was made by a team of like 250.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you know, they clearly know what the fuck they're doing, but there's only so much of them, and it really gives us to think, like, do we need AAA games when I can get this indie experience for $15 and it's equal if not better.
I agree.
And it's like, you're like, right now your list for 2013 is, you know, Guacamelee is up there. And there was something else, I feel like.
Mercenary Kings now.
Yeah, Mercenary Kings. It's a crazy thing that's just like, these indies are kind of cropping up and they're taking over the world game by game. And it's weird because right now they haven't really been noticed by publishers.
Yeah.
Right? They're still, you know, publishers still making money off of Assassin's Creeds and Call of Duties and Battlefields. And,
like, probably the last thing I could say about indies, and like, the thing about, I think that the most I could take away from indie games that you can take away from like more than like a AAA type of game is that with an indie game, it's literally just them. Mm-hmm. It's like them versus the world, because they don't know if it's going to be a success. They don't know if they're actually going to make up all the money that they put into to make this game.
Yeah.
So it's more like it's kind of like an artist. Like an artist, like he's making this thing just because he loves to do it, more than it's like, oh, it's just another paycheck type of thing.
Yeah. There's a different sentiment behind it of like, this isn't a AAA game. It doesn't have to sell well. If it doesn't, I'm fucked. I'm not going to make games again. Mm-hmm. But if it does, you know, I'm going to keep appreciating this and taking my time and being so careful with it.
Right.
It's not going to corrupt them. And I'm not saying anyone specifically corrupted, but it's just it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
They're doing something right. And yeah, indie games. Whew. That Sony lineup. Like, that was the best part of E3 for me.
Yeah, definitely.
When Sony's like, here are 7 indie games that are totally awesome looking.
Fucking Octodad, man.
Octodad, and then fucking Transistor, which I've played and I love already. Like, you got my money, just fucking come out. And it's crazy. Indie games they could very well be the future of video games.
Yeah. Looking forward to Shovel Knight.
Yeah. Shovel Knight, great. Spelunky. I'll take every moment I can. Spelunky's coming to Vita in August. Whatever, man. My life is over then. You'll just never see me again. I'll be like, fuck these videos. I don't have to record this anymore. Yeah, so there you go. There's some conversation about indie games and AAA games. If you like it, let us know what you think. Are you an indie fan? Are you a AAA fan? Do you prefer Call of Duty over your Bastions? Or is it the other way around? We'd like to know. You can tweet at us individually. I'm at Alfinder27. Nabeshin's at Nabeshin186. So, you know, let us know what you think. Where do you stand on the debate? Other than that, please like, share, subscribe. Share with your friends, please. That's going to help us out a lot. Subscribe because, you know, then we know that you're actually watching and we can force it down your throat. And like, because then other people watch this, hopefully. Don't forget to check out our website, irrationalpassions.com. It's a cool site. I write for it. Podcast goes up on it. He's on that. He's on that with me. We talk about video games like we just did. And don't forget to check out Alex Talks. I talk about lots of stuff like I am right now, just by myself. So it's a little bit sadder. But, hey, it's fun. So don't forget to check that out. And, with that, I guess, talk to you guys next time.
Bangarang.
You hit the melee button while you're not holding like a weapon, or you can't melee anyone, you just flip off the camera. Or flip off in general. I flipped off the camera. It's like, that's so dumb. Why? Why is that in a game? But that's awesome.